Good afternoon, everybody. What will this presentation bring for you? We will demonstrate you how we built an integrated knowledge management system with research management, which adds intelligence to the business, and how we have used, making use of this system, past already known intelligence, which we use then for future decisions. In a 2009 conducted study of Boston Consultancy Group, they found out that only 20 to 25% of market research studies were devoted to strategic work. And at the same time, they also found out that the number of the quality of research is not linked with spending to research. As there was no correlation between the percentage of spend of total sales and the quality of research. Instead of that, the critical drivers were that there should be a better balance between tactical and strategic work combined with a structured approach. So they found that companies who were really delivering high quality market research professionals, that they were spending less per FTE. Why was that? That was because these researchers, internal researchers, didn't have to hop from study to study because they had organized their research management, and they had for that reason more time to spend on strategic implications. So that brings us to our agenda. So we will first talk about what is the reasoning that we are not able to become strategic foresight organizations. What hinders us that we are swimming around in a lot of data with unclear workflows. We will then show how we can solve this with an integrated research management and knowledge management system, and then we will also close with a practical case study how we used past insights for future marketing decisions.
So also welcome from my side. So first of all, the question is, why isn't there enough time to really focus on strategic foresight for many, many researchers? So if we look at our clients around the world as research organizations, there are two very simple things that are mentioned all the time. So first of all, there is simply too much data to handle, and the second one is there are no systematic workflows in place. So the first one, too much data. So you all know the situation. There are zillions of ad hoc reports, studies, industry reports, data points, and so on and so forth. And in the best case, they are in a central repository. In the, let's say, more realistic case, they are scattered around local hard drives, network drives, especially in global organizations. It's really difficult to get access to all this valuable information that's already there from the past. And that makes it very, very difficult to holistically answer this kind of what do we know, for example, women and beer or something like that, desk research questions, because it's simply very difficult to get all this information in a timely manner. So you either spend a week to do a nice desk research and to come up for something for your internal business partner, or you simply redo the research again and again, which is also not so great if you have the knowledge already to leverage. Second point, which is also very important, is that we see when there is not really a systematic workflow in place, and maybe also a system that helps you to run research projects in a manner that you have support to create a briefing together with the marketing, that you have support to select the right supplier based potentially on a supplier roster that is in place, and then also collaborate with the supplier on conducting the project to then finally upload all the results. This makes the life very difficult. And this can be really something that helps you to save time. On the other hand, what we see is that in all these marketing processes and also the process of conducting new research, very often the past insights are not being used at all. So that means, for example, if you do a briefing for a new research project, it would be great if you could also include all what you know already about the target group, about the topic, into the briefing. And this will not lead to not do the research anymore, but this will lead to do the research in a much more efficient way because you include all your corporate knowledge from the past. And the same is basically true for marketing processes. So let's assume you need to do a briefing for an advertising agency, for a new TV commercial. So wouldn't it be great to have all the knowledge at hand to include this into the briefing, what you know about the target group, what you know potentially about elements of a TV commercial, so that you do not to reinvent the wheel all the time.
What was the situation at Heineken 2 years ago? We were confronted with the following challenges. We didn't have a central database or repository available in which all the researches were stored. So that limited us in learning from each other, as well as exchanging best practices. Also, we were not exploiting the knowledge which our knowledge asset, the knowledge which we already could know. We were doing again research, meanwhile it was already available if we would have stored it properly. It also limited us in sharing, this also limited us in rolling out standardized protocols. Because everybody was doing his research in his own way. There was no comparability between markets. Given the fact that we also didn't have a central database available, they also limited us in executing global vendor management. So what happened based upon this? We started then with a task force, a global task force, consisting of representatives of different regions which are covering our global spread. We wanted to have commitment with development of the system by the business and not that it would be developed by the ivory tower in Amsterdam. And so the objectives this task force formulators were develop a research management system that supports workflow management. Secure that we are using and reusing the intelligence which is already available. The system should also facilitate that we are developing and sharing best practices and that we are learning from each other. And it should also give us easy access to our standardized tools. And it also enable us that we also could roll out standardized tools and protocols. And it should facilitate us in making global deals with our vendors. Sorry. Leveraging, so that we in this case we could leverage our global scale. Leveraging global scale is one of the 7 strategic pillars of Heineken.
So after we understood then the requirements from Heineken, we took out of a box software solution we have and adapted it to the needs of Heineken. So at Heineken it's now called CMI Fresh, where Fresh stands for Find, Research Easily, Share Heavily. And basically the solution at Heineken consists of 2 blocks that we implemented initially, which is the research management and the knowledge management. And then there is a third module which we are talking about right now called learning planning. So what is this about? It's basically the research management is a software-based workflow support for researchers to create a collaboration platform where Heineken researchers together with their research partners, the agencies, work together on research projects. Knowledge management is a new kind of knowledge database. I will talk about it in a couple of minutes or seconds. And learning plans, last but not least, is the overall budget planning and research planning tool where you can do a plan for the next 3 years to get an overview of what you want to do, to shape your research agenda, and at the same time managing your budget. So what we did is that we had a 90-day project, so 3 months, where we implemented the research management and the knowledge management. So the research management was the first thing being implemented with the purpose of standardizing the workflows at Heineken, making all the best practices on how to conduct research available for the researchers, and also be able to invite suppliers after they have been selected as team members to work together with Heineken. So, and when you work and use a system to conduct research, you start by doing a briefing, you select the supplier, you then design the project together with the supplier, and finally the supplier is uploading all the results, and when this is fine for the Heineken researcher, he can publish a project, and the project then ends up automatically in the knowledge management system. So the knowledge management system is first of all a database where we have projects and documents in, and this is globally available to everyone at Heineken. But there is one special thing about it, and that is that we do not only upload the PowerPoints and create project entries, we also extract from all the research what we call findings. So these are 2 or 3 sentence long gold nuggets in the research, maybe independent of the purpose of the research, because there was some side findings in a focus group. So what we really aim to is to get all the knowledge out of these reports and make them available in an extra searchable kind of engine here. So that means when you have a specific question, for example, what do we know about women and beer, then you get all the findings from different projects. They are all formulated in a way that you can work with them immediately and you can take them out of the system, so as kind of a desk research. So this really saves time to understand what we know about a certain topic.
So I will show you now a case study. That is Radler. Radler is a mix of beer and lemon. Radler was for the first time launched in Austria and afterwards in some other markets in the Central Eastern Europe. This was quite successful. And the questions we received was from, what are now the critical success drivers for it? Are there some market-depending barriers? And can we maybe develop a common approach which is also applicable in other markets so that we can run it out globally? So what did we do? We looked in our CMI Fresh, and there we looked at qualitative researches which were conducted in some of these markets, in which we looked at, which we studied the consumer needs and the possible solutions. We looked at the concept product test that we had executed, in which we tested the concept combined with the optimal product. And we looked at post-testing after the product was launched. This could be a specific launch monitoring or integrated in a brand health tracking. We also looked at other data sources. Here we are also conducting segmentation studies, which are also stored in our knowledge management system. Here we see the green line, that there is a need in this specific market, which is DRC, former colony of Belgium, in which we are present with Primus. And the green line represents the need for a fruity tasting product. The blue line, that is the performance of our brand Primus. Immediately we see that this performance is negative. We see a negative figure there. So we see that our current offer is not meeting the consumer needs. So this gives us the confirmation that there would be a big potential in this market already, based upon already available information for launching a Primus Radler, which happened successfully after testing this product. What happened consecutively? The Radler was launched as line extension for our mainstream brands in more than 40 opcos, and we tested around 45 propositions, and we could do this very focused with very sharpened positionings, thanks to the fact that we already used what we already knew and which was already stored in our system. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?